How do you set smart, frugal financial goals, especially if the money is tight? Our strategies coming up next. Hi, I'm Hope.
And I'm Larry.
From Under the Median. In 32 years of marriage, we have taken on some pretty big financial goals. One of them was to pay cash for our home while we were raising our 4 sons on an income which at the time averaged under $40,000 a year. So we have had some experience and some practice at setting financial goals. So no matter what time of the year that you're watching this, it's always a great time to set financial goals. But the truth is, January is usually that time of the year when everybody makes those New Year's resolutions. A lot of those resolutions often involve weight, time, or money. So we are going to talk about money today. First, we need to determine exactly what is a financial goal and the different types of financial goals. A financial goal, of course, is one that deals with money. Now, the size of the goal doesn't matter. What matters for us is the length of time it's going to take us to get to that goal. And that is how we sort of categorize our financial goals. There are 3 different basic kinds of financial goals.
The first is a short-term goal, and that runs from 6 to 24 months. The next is a medium goal. Medium goals would go from 2 to 5 years, and a long-term goal would be 5+ years.
Now, one of the questions we often get from people is, look, I'm having a really hard time getting from 1 month to the next, just paying my bills. Surely I kind of don't have to write out goals. What is the point of making goals when I'm having trouble making ends meet? So our answer to them is, yes, you still have to write goals. In fact, it's probably almost more important that you write goals.
Yeah, you want the goals set down in paper so that you can look at them. They're more concrete. You're generally going to stick to the goals if you have it written down and you refer back to them. And this gives you a plan, a roadmap, so to speak, for what to do with your finances.
Now, one of the most simple kinds of goals, of short-term goals, is a no-spend month. In fact, in January, they are incredibly popular. No-spend Januaries. Now, we're actually not going to do a no-spend month here on this channel, but my friend Kate Caden over at Kate Caden is actually going to do a no-spend January challenge over there on her channel. So head on over to Kate's channel and make sure you tell her that Hope and Larry sent you. She is incredibly friendly and enthusiastic, and she's got some great things planned for those of you who want to go to Kate's channel and do a no-spend January challenge with her. Here are some more examples of some short-term goals.
Yeah, a short-term goal would be, let's say you're saving up for new living room furniture. That's something that's near and dear to us. We have, I don't know how old our stuff is.
Y'all, our couch is over 20 years old. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Another example would be a new computer. Now, of course, Hope and I don't buy brand new computers, but a new computer does cost some money, and it's worth saving up for. The next item that you might have in mind would be a weekend getaway. Now, we did one of these a couple of years ago when we could still travel freely. We went up to Madison, Wisconsin. And I believe that trip cost us about, what?
A couple $100.
Yeah, not bad.
It was very reasonable.
We stayed in a hotel overnight, and we found a lot of different free activities to partake in while we were up there. It was a very pleasant trip.
So weekend getaways are a great way, particularly if you're working towards specific goals. When you reach like a milestone, this is a great way to celebrate, is to take just a little inexpensive 2 or 3 day weekend getaway.
Yeah, another example would be personal improvement or work-related courses that you can take, probably online. That would require maybe a few $100 savings. So this would be another example of a short-term goal.
Now, the only caveat that we throw in here is before you sign up and throw down your own hard-earned money toward that class, especially if it is related to your job, check with your employer and see if they would not be willing to foot the cost of that class or that certification for you, because sometimes all it takes is asking and they will do it.
So the next category would be a midterm goal. And what are some examples of that, Hope?
Well, we have 4 boys, and right now 3 out of 4 of them have had to have braces. Yes, and we are very well aware, before you make comments in the comment section, we know that every orthodontist across the country will gladly tell you, let's go ahead and get the braces on the kids' teeth, and then every month you'll owe a payment. There's no interest. You'll just pay every month as you go along. For us, that really made us nervous, because if we could not physically carve out that much extra money in our budget before they got braces, we had no way of really thinking that we would be able to do it after they got braces. So for us, we just made it a medium-term goal, and in about 3 years, we saved up and we paid cash for the braces.
Another example of medium-term goals would be major appliances like refrigerators, stoves, ovens, your washer and dryer, maybe your hot water heater. All these items have a time tag ticking on them, and they only last so long. So these are also some items that you want to consider when you're planning your goals.
What about car replacement? Well, it depends on where you're at in the life cycle of your car, right? For us, we try to buy a new car with the assumption that we have 8 to 10 years at least on the life cycle of that car. We do not purchase new automobiles. We do try to purchase an automobile that's maybe 4 or 5 models old. And it used to be, we used to say we had a 440 rule. So we wanted 4 models old, no more than 40,000 miles. Well, as the price of cars have gone up, we have relaxed our, our expectations somewhat. So we generally, with our price range, need to go a few more models down than that and a few more miles up than that. So it depends on where you're at in that. Sometimes you might have that as an 8-year goal, and sometimes that might be a 4 or 5-year goal. But generally, as soon as we purchase a car, we begin socking money away into a specific fund to replace that car eventually. Now, there's a caveat with all of these goals, and we're going to talk about what to do when you need to shuffle goals unexpectedly. We'll do that just as soon as we talk about long-term goals and what those look like.
Yeah, so I guess a major category for long-term goals would be retirement.
Yes.
And that's where we're at. We're saving for retirement, which we hope to be able to partake in maybe a couple of years. But we started saving when I was in my 40s. So a good 20-25-year plan would be a suggestion. I would go further back than that if you can. I would.
Our oldest boys are in their 20s, and they're already saving for retirement because they know from watching how we've had to try to play catch up. And this was out of our own ignorance, and we talk very openly about this in a video that we did called our 5 worst financial mistakes. And we'll link that above and in the description of this video if you want to watch all 5 horrific mistakes that we have made with money. But not saving early enough for retirement was indeed one of those mistakes. But yes, we do save for retirement, and that's on the long-term goal list. And for now, that's actually moved up for us to more of a medium, almost a short-term goal list. But if you're not near retirement, another one of your long-term goals may be either saving up for a home down payment, depending on how long it's going to take you to do that. We recommend a 20% down payment, by the way, in case you're wondering. Or it may be just saving for a new home. Or if you're going to make major home repairs or improvements, those probably need to go on that long-term goal list too. So we've given you the 3 types of goals that everybody needs to have. We set our goals at the beginning of January, and we update our goals at the beginning of January. We always take time at least once a year to look at our written list of goals and figure out if anything needs to change. So that's one question that often comes up. What if I have a goal like we did to replace a car, and all of a sudden we've got a car going more than a little bit wonky? And so
we're in that position right now.
And so all of a sudden that car that was in that maybe medium term goal category of 3 to 5 years, we've had to jack it up. So what do you do when all of a sudden something comes up and you need to change goals? The first thing that we recommend is, in the first place, when you make the list of goals, make your list prioritized. You will hear that word again and again and again and again when listening to us, because nearly everything that we write down and anything that is a goal of any kind for us is a prioritized list. And what that means is the most urgent goals go at the top, and those that can wait a while go toward the bottom. So you are looking, when you're looking at your goals list, you should be looking at a list of short, medium, long-term goals, and within those 3 categories, everything that is in those categories is prioritized. So if you have a child who desperately needs braces, that's probably going to be near the top of one of your prioritized lists, either short-term or medium-term, depending on how soon that needs to be done. But something else like taking a trip to Disney is maybe going to go more toward the bottom. But you should be able to look at that list and instantly tell what is most important to your family. And we will never tell you that what's most important to us should be what's most important to you. That is solely up to you. But we will tell you that your list needs to be prioritized.
Okay, so what you're seeing is an example of one of our actual goal sheets. And Hope put this together starting in 2012. It starts at the bottom, and she did a pie chart that explains how we divided up some of our different short and medium term goals that we had set. So the dollar amount is $300 each month. And so the first one in 2012 was for wisdom teeth extraction and braces for our oldest son. So the wisdom teeth, we were putting $100 a month and $200 toward the braces. Then in June of 2012, we went up to 100% on the braces because we had reached the wisdom tooth amount. So now we show 100%, and we did that for 4 months until we met that goal. And so the next one was our oldest son went to a local community college, and we were putting in 37% of our allocated amount toward that. And then we were starting a car replacement. So the car replacement would be 67% or $200 and $100 for James. And we allocated those amounts for 36 months until we met that goal. And so it kind of goes on from there, the same way. We made adjustments as needs came into play. Our next son, James, or rather our next son, John, was going to be starting ICC, and we had a certain amount in there for him as well, and we adjusted the car replacement accordingly. So that is an example of what we did toward our medium and short-term goals.
Now, we know that some of you are going to ask, because we've actually said in previous videos that we don't pay for our children to attend college. The amount you're seeing on this goal sheet is indicative of the fact that we do give them $1,000 a year when they're in college to pay for books. So basically, that's all we do is pay for books. But this was our goal saving sheet to save up for that $1,000 a year that we were willing to pay toward their college expenses.
And you can make this a fluid list. This doesn't mean that what you write on the list has to be etched in stone and never moved, because sometimes you might be required to move an item. For instance, your hot water heater might start leaking, or your oven might go out, or something unexpected happens. And of course, you should have an emergency fund to handle those kind of expenditures. But still, you can move an item up, and you can move a less prioritized item down in the list to make adjustments for what you need.
So what we wound up doing is taking stock of exactly how much we already had set aside in our car replacement fund. And we haven't made a final decision yet, because one of the things we tell you when an emergency happens is not to panic, wait for the shoes to drop. We don't have actually the final total on exactly what's wrong with the car and what we're going to need to do. So we're still in the process of making the decision. But we went ahead and looked at that category and said, what do we already have in that fund? And how fast can we add money to that fund? Because it is just not enough to get a reliable used vehicle yet. And so what we think we're going to do is go ahead and move it up to the top of the short-term prioritized list. And we are going to throw every penny we can toward that car fund for about 5 months and hopefully get it to where we need it to be in order to go ahead and purchase a good quality, reliable, used vehicle.
In the meantime, I'm taking a couple steps toward this issue to resolve it. I'm having the car in question, I'm taking that into the shop on Wednesday, and we're going to have it diagnosed. And then I'm also looking at possible replacement vehicles and narrowing down that search so we have an idea of what to look for. I always like to narrow that search down to one type of vehicle, and then I get my finger on the pulse and watch the market and see what we can do to get a good bargain on a good replacement car.
So we're going to cover this just very quickly before we wrap up this video, simply because it just happened to us. What do you do when a need happens and it presents itself and you have to move it immediately to the top of that prioritized list, and you need to come up with some cash and you need to do it pretty quickly in order to finish funding that as soon as possible? So we've got some really quick ideas as to things you can do in order to shove cash at one of those goals and do it fast.
One of the things that you can do to help defray this is to sell some items that are in your house. We've mentioned this on previous videos. There are many avenues you can take to list an item for sale, and you probably have some cash on hand sitting around your house that you're not using in the form of items that can be sold.
The other thing that you can do is go ahead and grab yourself a side hustle. Deliver pizzas on the weekend, or do one of the food delivery services. Those are quite popular, and you can make some money rather quickly doing those things. If you have a full-time job, it's a great idea to ask your boss, is there any possibility that I could get some overtime? A lot of businesses love to have employees that are asking, they're being proactive. They're like, hey, I would love, is there anything else you need me to do? And given the opportunity, they may very well give you some overtime hours.
Another thing you can do is barter for what you need. Now, we needed some work done on this house several years ago, and I had a side business at the time of transferring video, either old tapes or old films. So I made a deal with our repairman to work on some of his projects for some repairs that we needed done on the house. And we didn't exchange any cash, we just exchanged work, and that worked out just fine.
Now, the last idea we have for you is a little bit more involved, but if you really do need some extra money cash flowed into your home budget, then you could get a roommate. If you're living alone, then it's a great idea to get someone to live with you and split those expenses, and it really does help you to immediately save money. If you're living especially near a college students will gladly pay to just rent a room in your home and pay some pretty good money to do it. So those are some things that you might want to consider if you need cash and you need to run it quickly into a goal in order to fund that goal. If you need some help making progress on your goals, we actually have a free goals tracker ebook that we would love to send to you. So go ahead and look in the description of this video and just request a copy of our free goals tracker.